Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Elevenses with Reps at Diesel Bookstore. Every Wednesday, we get together here at our 11ish with our beverages and our snacks and our books, and we talk to our wonderful publishers, representatives, and sometimes other book-related people. And they are here to tell you about all of their recommendations for new and upcoming releases and recently released titles that they're excited about. And this has been just the most amazing spring. There's so much to talk about every week, and we go down so many rabbit holes. I have such a giant stack of books next to my I want to read pile. It's just insane. And sometimes I have to just put everything aside and try to race through a book that I've been waiting for forever. London Falling was one. And I've got to put everything down and read. But anyway, I'm sure after today I will have more, and you will have more too that you want to read, because we've got some wonderful reps here to tell you about them. And I'm going to introduce everybody in just a second. But I do want to mention first, we've got some really great events coming up this week at Diesel. So let me tell you about those. Tonight, the first one that I want to talk about is Kelly Yang, and she will be at the store at 6:30 p.m. tonight discussing and signing The Take. And she will be in conversation with Alexandra Brown Chang, and they will both be here talking about The Take, Kelly's book, at 6:30 p.m. at the store. And then on Thursday, that's going to be the 23rd, tomorrow, Thursday at 6:30 p.m. We have Sarah Hoover here with Jordan Moblo and discussing and signing the Motherload, episodes from the Brink of Motherhood. So that is going to be a great event tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. But wait, there's more. On Sunday, for the kids at 3 p.m., that's April 26th, we've got Evelina Ruimy, and she'll be reading and signing Hop's Tales, The Kind Bunny. So that's going to be Sunday. Bring the kids at 3 p.m. And then rounding it out for the week, we've got on Tuesday, the 28th, that's next Tuesday at 6:30 p.m., Michael Elias discussing and signing Bender's LA. And joining him in conversation will be director and author Nicholas Meyer. So that's going to be a big one as well, Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. All right. That's a lot for the week. That's a lot of events. And there's more. And if you want to look ahead for the events we've got coming, lots of great things on the horizon, you can go to dieselbookstore.com and check those all out. And also, I forgot to mention earlier that all of the books that we talk about today are in the little, we're going to post links to them in the little chat area. So you can just click on those later and order them from the bookstore. Or better yet, come into the bookstore and say hi. We'll have them. All right. So who is joining us today on our wonderful slate of reps? We have Suzi Hough with HarperCollins. Great to see you, Suzi. We have Liz Camfiord from Random House. Also great to see you, Liz. And rounding it out, our returning champion, Tom Benton from Penguin. Great. Let's launch right into it. Suzi, why don't you lead us off?
Okay, the first book that I'm going to talk about today is The Left and the Lucky by Willy Vlautin. This just came out, was it today? Pretty recently anyway. When I first started at Harper, I didn't know who Willy Vlautin was. I skimmed a couple of the book descriptions and thought, this does not sound like an author for me. But one of our other reps, Eric, who covers the South, said that in 35 years of selling HarperCollins, no author has touched him as deeply as Willy. So I picked up The Left and the Lucky, and I have never been more wrong. This is the tale of an unlikely friendship between a middle-aged house painter named Eddie and his next-door neighbor, an 8-year-old named Russell. Russell is violently bullied by his older brother, while the adults in his family are largely absent. His grandmother by dementia, his mother is off working nights or sleeping during the day. Eddie lets Russell hang around his house, feeding him and listening to Russell when no one else will. It can be very tough reading at times because Russell's home life is absolutely horrific. And Vlautin does not shy away from deeply flawed characters struggling with addiction and bad decisions. But the deep compassion and warmth Eddie shows his young friend and the found family they build together creates a story of hope that celebrates the best humanity can be. To quote Ann Patchett, who knows a thing or two about writing, Willy creates a portrait of American life that is so hard and so heartbreaking that it should be unbearable, but it isn't. The straightforward beauty of his writing and the tender care he shows his characters turns a story of struggle into indispensable reading. It's 250 pages, so it's a quick read, but it's like one of the most worthwhile and rewarding books I've read in a long time.
Willy Vlautin is so good. He's been a favorite in our house for a long time. And it's dark. I mean, his subject matter is always dark. He deals with a lot of the things that you just mentioned, Susie, but he does it in such a sort of a sensitive and beautifully written way that you're just drawn right in. And he's really great. And I've never had and he's such an easy recommend as well for people who haven't discovered him. He's a wonderful writer.
He is like such a gift for capturing dialogue. Like his
Yeah.
conversations are some of the best I've ever read. They're just unparalleled.
Yeah, and that's really hard to do. And it takes a really gifted writer to be able to pull that off, you know. And he's been really consistent. I keep waiting for Willy Vlautin to break out and just become as big as he deserves to be. Maybe this will be it.
I hope so.
Thank you, Susie. All right, Liz, what is your first book today?
My first book is The Talk of the Town. This is Yesteryear by Caro Claire Burke, and it's a debut novel. It taught me the phrase tradwife or the description tradwife, and now there are other books about tradwives, but nothing is like this. This stands alone. It's flying off the shelves. Orders are on their way to Diesel. I would recommend putting in a special order because this has been really hard to keep in stock. So the story it's kind of a thriller. It's definitely a social media, political indictment, a feminist tale. Our main character is Natalie, and so she's a traditional American woman, beautiful wife and mother. She has 6, seemingly perfect children. Her husband, who she met in college, is sort of a cowboy, perfect cowboy. And of course, this is all for her social media presence. So you may have heard about this story already because this ends up where she wakes up one morning and she's in 1855, forced to live the values and the principles and the kind of veneer that she's been putting on. So it's really unpredictable. It's so engaging. She's got on social media, she's got all these haters that are known as the angry women. So much of this is socially relevant. So what happens in 1855, she's got her kids are sort of, there's a role reversal. Her children are sort of bossing her around and she's looking for ways to escape. She injures herself in the woods trying to escape. And she's realizing 2 things, that she does not have a beautiful life and that she has to find a way out as soon as possible. So this debut novel, which is a GMA pick, she was on NPR. There was a great profile of her in the LA Times. I've never had so many pre-pub requests from booksellers for a debut like ever. It's reminding me of the momentum of Lessons in Chemistry. So this is going to last for a long time. Now, Caro has a really big following also in LA because she and her friend, her podcast partner, have a podcast called Diabolical Lies. And she's just fascinated with womanhood and politics. And there's definitely some skewering that goes on in her podcast. Just what a great story. And my favorite part of the book is actually where she meets her husband and just figuring out their roles. His family expects him to go into politics. It's just a multi-layered book, but written so tightly. I can't stop talking about it, and neither can anyone else.
What a luck for you to sell this book in, huh, Liz? This must have been really, really fun. I keep thinking
Very.
there can't possibly be anybody who hasn't heard about this book yet, but then again, I got my bookseller hat on and we get to see things a lot earlier.
Yeah.
But it has been getting so much attention. And just that she is able to sort of this is a trick. I mean, it's a great concept. I often actually have the secret fear that I will wake up in another, although I have woken up in another dimension, as have we all, like 10 years ago. But anyway, different story. And it's like, it's a great idea, but can you follow through with it? That's the trick. And apparently what people are saying is that that's the opinion. The general opinion is that she really does. She does pull it off.
Because
And
she's a great writer and a great storyteller. And so there
yeah,
you go.
but it's really, just really of the moment and capturing a sentiment and a feeling. And what a great, yeah, I think it's going to keep going too, for sure.
Yep.
So that's a really,
Mother's
really,
Day. Let me just say, this is a
Yeah,
great
sure.
for Mother's Day.
it is. Yeah, I guess. But I mean, I've just been hearing about trad wives for so long, and this is really, it's like, yeah, you want a trad wife. Here's your trad wife kind of a thing. It's great. Excellent. So it's on sale.
It
When
went on
it
sale
went on
April
sale too?
7th,
Oh, okay. So it
and
has
it
been out
blew
for
out,
2 weeks.
and the
Yeah.
reorders are like, we're chasing it. I'm just
Right.
saying that, like, it's just, if you see a copy, buy it.
I would agree
All
with
right.
you.
Yeah.
Wherever you see a copy, if you see a copy, buy it.
Yeah.
Right. Right. From Diesel, preferably.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes.
Thank you, Liz. All
You're
right, Tom. This is
Sorry.
you got to follow a couple of heavy hitters.
I know. I have some heavy hitters too. So my first book is indeed one of those. Maria Semple's Go Gentle. So first time we've published Maria Semple, but of course we all know Maria Semple from Where'd You Go, Bernadette. Um, and it's been 10 years since her last novel. And so, I had forgotten what a great writer she is and how much fun she is. She's all those things. So this book is about Adora Hazard. She's the main character. She's a philosopher. She's an adherent to the Stoics. So she's become she is a philosopher, but also a popularizer of the Stoics. So very successful. Like that's the setup. Um, Before that, she had been a TV writer. So there's a section in LA that's sort of like a set in a fictional sort of like a Saturday Night Live, but in LA. So she has a great affection for LA, which I'll explain later. But the book is really a New York novel. It's set on the Upper West Side. That's where Adora lives. She lives in the Ansonia. She has what she calls her coven of women of her age. She's divorced. She has a teenage daughter, and these women live in this building, and they all help each other out. So they share passwords. They share, uh, you know, um, uh, all the things. They go shopping for each other. So that's her coven. So she seems to have it all figured out. And at the same time, she's been hired by a very wealthy family to give moral education, philosophical education to their two brats, basically, who are on the east side of New York City. So you have this is the setup, but then pretty soon we have the detour to LA where we find out about her life as a TV writer. We also learn about her husband and what happened there. And then there's an art heist, there is international intrigue, and most importantly, there's a love story. Because this really is it's a love story that it could be read as a romance in a way, because definitely has that element. There's Maria Semple is really fascinated by the classic love stories. Um, so it's bursting with plot. I mean, it's so well plotted, and so well written. It's fantastic. I mean, it's really, and it's fun. That's what the theme of all my books today, I feel like, is just fun, because we need that more than ever. And I know Maria Semple felt that. So I also want to point out that Maria Semple grew up in Brentwood, basically the Brentwood Farmers Market uh, was in her backyard. Like Diesel wasn't there when she was growing up, but this is where she grew up. So she has tremendous affection for the store and the place. Although she now lives in New York City, which is why she's written this very much a New York novel. That's the other thing about this book. It delivers on that level as a New York City novel. Oprah picked it this week, I guess it came out last week, and so she picked it. And it's just a book to fall into, to discover, and remind yourself why you loved Where'd You Go, Bernadette. It's all in here. So that's Maria Semple's Go Gentle.
I remember Where'd You Go, Bernadette, and you've got to love an author who takes that kind of time. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why authors
Yeah.
wait, or there's a big gap, but it's a lot of bang for your buck,
Yeah.
and yeah, and been building it up. And I think you're absolutely right, Tom, about there have been interspersed between the heavier types of books. There have been some smart, fun books coming out this spring, and this is definitely one of those.
We
And
need to.
we do. We absolutely need them. Wow, those were 3 really big books to start it off. What do you have for number 2, Suzi?
My next book is a debut and also might be a good Mother's Day book, just throwing that out there. Mrs. Shim is a Killer by Kang Jiyoung. So whether she's trying to solve a mystery a la Mrs. Marple or exploring a dark underworld after decades of boring suburban life, don't we all love a story where a mature woman is busy getting herself in trouble? I am so excited to introduce you to Mrs. Shim, a middle-aged widow who unlocks a whole new world as an assassin for hire after losing her job as a butcher in a supermarket. It wasn't the job she planned on. She thought the vague ad was for a cleaning position, but she has 3 mouths to feed and a very particular set of skills honed by years of carving up pigs and cows. So what is she meant to do? It's a very relatable predicament, I think. I like the slow building of Mrs. Shim's character. She initially presents herself as a woman more or less forced into this line of work, a victim just trying to survive and provide for her family. But after initial chapters from her perspective, the story starts jumping through a series of narrators, her boss, a victim, a coworker, and so on. And with each new voice, we see a different version of Mrs. Shim. She contains multitudes. It was so hard to pull myself away from the story because I wanted to know if her true self is the ruthless, cunning trickster who kills, or the kind friend who brings meals to her elderly neighbor with dementia. This is author Kang Jiyoung's first book published in America, but while it's a debut here in the United States, she's written several best-selling novels in Korea, many of which do feature female assassins. She knows how to craft a story filled with dark humor and twisty plots. This is perfect for the readers who loved Strange Pictures or Butter or Killers of a Certain Age, and you'd look better as a ghost. It's just such a fun one.
I love this cover. I could just keep looking at this cover. It's a terrific cover. I love the idea. I mean, it's super fun, and it sounds like has it been optioned yet? Because it sounds like it would make an absolutely great series.
Not here, but she's had several of her other Korean novels adapted into TV shows there, some of which are on Disney Plus now.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it would make an absolutely great series. I think people would love it. Well, that's another really fun book. Thank you, Suzi. We're going to go back to you now, Liz.
Great. So this is one of my favorite short story collections, My Dear You by Los Angeles writer extraordinaire Rachel Kang. It's a collection of short stories. She wrote Real Americans, was her last novel. She's been working on these stories over the course of about 10 years. I just saw her at the LA Times Festival of Books panel, which was very aptly titled with several other short story writers, From the Beautiful to the Terrible to the Surreal. So I've noticed in my own short story reading that I'm really loving in this time these surreal stories like Zach Williams' Beautiful Days or Joy Williams' Pelican Child or Good and Evil by Samantha Schweblin. And My Dear You is that these stories, the scenarios range from the everyday to the absurd. In one story, the U.S. government injects all citizens with a drug that makes them see everyone else as their same race and gender. And so she's, tackling issues, but in a great narrative and character developed fashion. Another story that I really love, a woman adopts a cat who conjures the ghosts of her ex-loves. There's a story where she has a crush on her vet, and the vet then ends up appearing in her, like, as a phantom in her apartment. They're weird, they're hard to describe, but they're really great to read. And at their core, they're about love and sort of all its forms, being in love when you're not supposed to, not being in love, but you wish you were, failing at dating apps. And it's very much, Rachel told in an interview with People magazine about the collection, she said that this really traces a pivotal time in her own life. She said, I think of it as a document of my 30s, of a particular kind of maturing. If there's a unifying theme, it's the midlife realization that life is finite, that we don't get to lead all possible lives or go down all possible paths. It's about mourning that sense of possibility, but also about finding beauty in our limits. And I thought that was gorgeously put. Um, so yeah, dip into My Dear You. It just went on sale again a couple weeks ago. And she'll be doing some events in LA. You'll see her around. She's also, one of her first novels is Goodbye Vitamin, and that's going to be a feature film. And even a couple of these stories are being adapted to the screen. So you'll just keep hearing about her.
I have a couple of questions. The first one is, are your 30s midlife now?
I know. I was like, wait a second, then I'm dead.
Good
Like, we're
question.
cooked.
Excellent question.
If that's what that is. Okay. And then my other question is, I just was wondering if the three of you could speak to, I feel like I have been seeing a lot of just really outstanding short story collections lately. And it does seem like publishing has a little kinder to it's not just it used to be like the really big authors, and then they would want to go do something literary and they allowed them to publish some short stories. Otherwise it was like, really hard to sort of to get that going with publishers, and also the promotion of it and that kind of thing, and people just weren't picking them up and whatever. And I don't know if it's short attention spans or what it is, but I have just been seeing so many outstanding short story collections, and it seems like publishers are into it at the moment. What do you guys think?
I mean, I think, yes, they are into it. I mean, Knopf is, has some great short story collections. So do Tom's imprints.
Oh yeah.
But I would just like this. The editor of Rachel Kang is John Freeman. He's just a tremendous advocate for all
Right.
things literary, all his
Right.
books and all of that. But yeah, I'm seeing, but also, literary luminaries like Joy Williams. I mean,
Right.
for her to publish a collection, I'm just seeing more of that. And let us remember, I mean, I'll date myself, but oh my God, Raymond Carver, Grace Pate, like
Right.
all of these
Right.
tremendous
Wow.
short
Going
story
on.
writers. It is a form. And this panel, hearing all of these, I wish I could remember all of the people on the panel, but this is not a lesser enterprise by any
Not at
way.
all. No, it's harder. It's
And
harder.
in
Yeah.
fact, they were speaking to, in a way, that this is really their most concentrated talent is exhibited in these books. So,
Well, and to your
I mean, as a writer, sorry, Tom, as a writer, I just have to say that, I mean, it's much harder to write a really good short story than it is a novel.
yeah.
You've got so much room,
And then
but
there's the poem. That's also
you,
hard.
yeah, well, yeah, but yeah,
Different.
but Tom, the Penguin International book of
oh yeah.
short stories is, I've discovered, I couldn't put it down, and I have discovered like 3 new writers that I went and bought,
Yeah. How great is
their
that?
books. Yes, how great! Like, who would have like where have I been?
And that's edited by John Freeman.
Yes,
Right,
it is.
Yeah.
right,
And then to your
yeah,
point, Liz, the literary luminaries, we have a Ruth Ozeki collection of stories and a Sigrid Nunez collection of stories coming in the summer. 2 writers who I adore, but did not know they even wrote short stories. So, and
right.
they're fantastic. They're wonderful. So I think that captures exactly what you're talking about, Deborah, that publishers are open to, collections like this.
I'm pretty excited. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. I don't know if either one of you remember Antonia Nelson.
Yes.
She was
Yeah.
like this just absolute like the mastery of the short story form, and she's won several awards and big ones, and I was at a couple of writers conferences with her, and I just I feel like there was a time when that was really being lauded and
Yeah.
you were getting credit for that, and then there was this really long fallow time, but I kind of feels like it's coming back, so
And
it's
I
very
think
exciting.
any of our bookstores that put out like a short story collection table or display, just it works.
Yeah, exciting.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, that's great.
All right, Tom, you're
All
up.
right. My next book. So it's Emma Straub's American Fantasy. So another beloved writer who really publishes on a much more regular schedule than Maria Semple. But then the new book. So her last book was This Time Tomorrow, which was, I really love that book. Which it was time travel, but really kind of emotional time travel. It was a father-daughter story. She's the daughter of Peter Straub. And it was, in a way, it was very touching and very and a heavier book. This book is I'm sure what she needed after the death of her father. Just a light, fun romp that also at the same time, gives you all the emotion that you want from an Emma Straub novel. So American, that is on that ship there on the cover is the American Fantasy. So that is a cruise ship, and in this case, this is the main character is Annie, who's just turned 50. She's has an empty nest, does not want to be dragged by her sister onto this boy band cruise. You know how they have cruises now where you can indulge your love of, in this case, a boy band, and all the fans are there. And in this case, women of around that age are all out of their minds because that band from the 90s that they loved is on the ship with them. Think New Kids on the Block, which Emma Straub did go on. She solo, she went on a New Kids on the Block cruise. Um, but so Annie, the main character, doesn't want to be there, and yet, of course, finds herself, loving it, and finds herself there, parts of herself that she'd forgotten. So the book's about that, about coming of age at that age in a way, and it's nostalgia, fandom, which I can certainly relate to. It's just richly textured, really fun, just an excellent Emma Straub novel. And then Ann Patchett, who I guess will always, in every conversation about books, will always be referencing Ann Patchett, I think, in some way, because she's everywhere. But she's gave a great quote to Emma, which was, "I can hardly remember the last time I read anything that brought me such pure joy." And then she said, which I love imagining, um, "I was up too late reading, then got up too early to go back to reading. All I wanted was American fantasy. It brims with truth and humanity and insight, and it made me snort like a pig." That's how funny it is. It made Anne Patchett snort like a pig. Um, so this came out a couple of weeks ago, and again, this is going to be a great summer reading book. Um, and then Emma, of course, is like Ann Patchett. She owns Books for Magic in New York, so she's a indie bookseller, big supporter of indie bookstores, and I love Emma. We all love Emma. So that's American Fantasy.
You always want to go the extra mile for the authors who are indie
Yeah,
booksellers, right?
yeah, absolutely.
So this is on my to be read list. I have it, for when I have like a second and I want
Yeah,
to get into it. I'm really excited about it. It's another one where you don't really have to think about it too much. You know you're gonna love it, you know?
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
And it's funny you mention Ann Patchett because I have another book that I've just finished reading that I'll be reviewing, and it's actually from Macmillan. It's a different author, and there's a big Ann Patchett quote on the back. So obviously she's been very busy lately.
Yeah,
I haven't where
reading,
when did she sleep?
supporting. Yeah. And she has a big novel coming out. Not my book. Yeah.
Which will be an event for sure. We seem to have lost Susie. I don't know what happened. She's in that strange void that sometimes happens.
I almost said at the beginning, no, look, there's no technical difficulties today. I didn't say it because I knew this
You
would
didn't
knew this
say it,
would
but you
happen.
thought it, Tom, and that was enough, apparently. Anyway, I don't know if she's going to be able to rejoin us, but since she has definitely lost connection, we're going to go to you, Liz, and for your last book.
So it is National Poetry Month, and I do have a great new Knopf hardcover collection to talk about by Amit Majmudar. I think he's had 4 collections. This is really accessible. It's things my grandmother said. It's wise. It's witty. He writes about how oh, I love that cover.
Beautiful.
About how the goddess in all her forms has charmed his life, giving rise to creativity and personhood that allows him to seek and find his mother country in poetry. Um, so Amit was the first poet laureate of Ohio, but he works as a diagnostic nuclear radiologist. And this is a blend I just love when science meets poetry. Because, as one reviewer said, he composes poems that reveal tenderness in their humanity and the precision of a surgeon in their details. So here are just a few lines, a few examples of his Indian grandmother's wit and wisdom as written in the poems. Turmeric can heal anything but a broken heart. And read that to me at my funeral, boy. Right now, my show is on. And he also turns to the impact of passionate romantic and married love. He and his wife, as he writes, are 2 fireflies scooped out of the same evening, which I love.
Oh,
So that's things my
that,
grandmother said.
that's beautiful. And that is a beautiful, beautiful cover. And I thank you, Liz, for bringing poetry. Always, we don't talk about kids' books a lot, and we certainly don't talk about poetry a lot. So it's always a treat to get the scoop on some new fabulous poetry. So thank you for that. Along with short stories, I've been reading a lot of great poetry as well. Again, things that are short that you can
Yeah.
read more of quickly.
And these poems are, somebody that loves short stories or almost like flash fiction, could
Yes.
read these and
Yes.
feel it's not an intimidating collection, but it's obviously deep and beautiful.
Yes. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Liz.
Mhm.
All right, Tom, let's wrap it up for the day because I think
You might
Susie
not see
is
Susie.
twirling in the void somewhere.
I hope she's okay in the void. My
There's
next,
books. There's books there, at least.
maybe it's a better place, the good place. My last book is The Rolling Stones by Bob Spitz. So Bob Spitz he's really the great chronicler of these bands. So he's done the Beatles, more recently he did Led Zeppelin for us, and now it's the Rolling Stones. So you know, what I love about the book is so much, it's so rich. I mean, it's really a full telling of the beginning to near the end. It's a lot heavier in the beginning. But he captures the danger of the Rolling Stones, which we might forget. A lot of people don't know how dangerous they were. And Spitz had a quote that he kept in his mind the whole time, which is all great music is a threat. And you really get the feeling from especially the 60s Rolling Stones and the 70s, how much of a threat they were seen as. They were, of course, the anti-Beatles. They cultivated that in a way. So it's really entertaining, filled with destruction and joy and more destruction and especially because you see a lot, of course, along the way, the members of the band that could cut it, which were, Charlie Watts among them, but then the ones that couldn't, Brian Jones, Mick Taylor, you see how that all transpired. So it's really the full telling of the Rolling Stones as only Bob Spitz could do it. And Spitz he's in a great place to do this because he was part of the music business in the 1970s. He was Elton John's tour manager on the Yellow Brick Road tour. And more important to me is he was assistant to Bruce Springsteen's first manager. So he was there in the early 70s when Springsteen was just getting started. So he understands the business on a very deep level. So he's able to understand, to explain the business of music as well as the art in a really artful way. So he's fantastic. The LA Times gave us just reviewed the book, and this was the pull quote. Hundreds of books have been written about the Rolling Stones, and we've published a bunch of them. But few sparkle quite like Spitz's. For anyone who loves or even likes the Stones, it's indispensable. So really happy to have Bob Spitz's The Rolling Stones.
Well, Tom knows that the minute, the minute that this was like a
You
thing,
heard about it, yeah.
yeah, and I emailed Tom immediately, and I was like, I need a galley, and of course Tom said, "There's no galleys."
There are books, finished books.
Yeah, no, but I read it. I read it right away. But my thought was, and I've read all of Spitz's other books as well, of course. This is my thing, Julia and I often talk about the music books. It's my happy place. It's my candy,
Yeah.
But I was like, is there anything else that can be possibly said about the Rolling Stones? And it turns out, yeah, there is. But what I feel like was enlightening for me about this book, even though I've read all of them before, is just about Brian Jones. It's so tragic. But
Yeah.
also, the book really centers on Mick Jagger and Keith Richards' friendship, their connection.
Yeah.
Their like marriage, really.
Yes, that's true. I hadn't thought of it like that. Exactly.
Yeah, and that is the thread that runs all the way through, and nothing can really compete with that.
Yeah.
And the whole tragedy of Brian Jones, also, which was the same as the Led Zeppelin, just don't get to know your heroes too well. I mean,
Right.
everybody knew about Antics, and the treatment of women and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But boy,
Yeah.
there's some. Yeah, and they do get a lot of attention as well. Anita Pallenberg and
Yeah, I was just going to say
Faithful.
Yeah.
that documentary was really good about
Yeah.
Anita Pallenberg.
Yeah, but he goes way deep into discussions of the women in this book as well. It's super granular. It's definitely and I was also thinking about the Stones are almost like a Disney act at this point,
Yeah.
when people are bringing like their great grandchildren to shows and things,
Next
like
is a cruise. Are they on a cruise?
yeah, like Keith Richards can't play anymore because he's got arthritis. It's so
Yeah.
Anyway, it's fascinating, especially if you take a long view of
Yeah.
things.
Right.
Does it go up to the I mean, like
It does. It does. It doesn't spend a lot of time in the present because there's not
Right.
a lot to talk about.
right?
I
Except for the
mean,
injuries.
yeah, like really the real meat of it is up to some girls, and then it's like okay, and then everything else that happened after
Which
that.
is probably exactly the right balance.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's what everybody says. Yeah, all right, some girls. That was the last, and then it was like this. Anyway, but it's great. It's great fun, great reading, really granular. Lots of, if you want some trivia, boy, there's that also. But he's really good about that, and he's also really good about making you go, "Wow, they just were not nice back then." I know
Yeah.
it was different times, but
Right.
wow.
But it is a reminder of how different and
Yeah,
and
yeah.
horrible.
Yes, how different, but also like, how far we've looped around and come back to those kinds of things
Yeah.
again.
True.
No,
Yeah,
that's disturbing.
it is disturbing.
You mean about the Manoverse?
Yeah, and that's why we need, that's why we need books, right? And that's why we're here. And that's why we're here. And I think that's a good place to stop things for today. Unfortunately, Susie lost power. Her power went out.
Oh my God.
Yeah, too
You
bad.
know what her
But
last book was going to be?
her last
The
book
title?
was going to be, let's have a look. Where was it? Her last book was going to be she hadn't decided. Her last book was going to be Screen People by Megan Garber or Short Circuit by Wolf Haas.
Okay.
And both of those sounded terrific.
Ooh, look at that.
Screen
good
People. Okay. This looked really, okay, there's both of them. They both look fantastic. Thanks, Joey.
Great
Thanks,
duo. Great.
But Screen People especially, I'll just give that one a little plug because
Yeah.
that is how we entertained ourselves into a state of emergency. I'm thinking a lot about screens and plunging into this manufactured fake reality, especially now that, you can't swing a cat without hitting AI somewhere. With a fake cat. With an AI cat or whatever. And this really goes into that deeply about what it's done to our brains. And I'm also I'm working on a book right now. I'm not writing it, but editing a book about how, because screens don't show the full gamut of colors that we can see with our eyes, we are, at risk of losing those colors.
Oh my God.
God.
Right? Yeah. So, fascinating. Suzi, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you couldn't be here, but we'll look forward to seeing Suzi next time. And then, in the meantime, there's Screen People over there, by Megan Garber. Thank
Great.
you so much.
Thank
Liz Camfiord from Random House and Tom Benton from Penguin for being here and bringing always such fantastic books. We appreciate it so much. It's so exciting. I love being here every Wednesday for this hour of just talking about books and pretending none of the bad things are happening. It's so great.
The state of emergency is not happening.
Right. And we hope that you all watching this feel the same way and appreciate them as much as we do. And I also appreciate you, Joey, behind the scenes.
Right, Joe.
Yes, thank you very much for posting all the links. And what?
Howard came back on. Oh my God.
And she's you're just saying.
I promise one day I'll get through one of these without technical difficulties.
Well, it's your thing now. It's now your thing. Suzi, I was talking about Screen People. We gave you a little plug for Screen People, but if you want to talk about it.
Yeah, sure. I'll probably be repeating some of what you said, but yeah, it really reminded me a lot of The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt. If that book was all about phones and the internet and how they're influencing our kids, Screen People is about how those same media are influencing all of us, the adults, the ones who are supposed to be providing moral guidance. The picture it paints isn't pretty. Garber posits that as the internet has driven more of our interactions online, the line between fact and fiction has blurred to the point that we're losing our ability to distinguish them. I don't think that's a surprise. We all can think of examples of that in our lives. But the more disturbing aspect is that we are being trained to think of others not as living humans like us, but as characters in a show. Disposable characters that we can disengage with as easily as switching to another social media stream. After all, there's always another show on. This disconnect is eroding empathy and trust and increasing loneliness and depression and cruelty. Megan Garber is a staff writer for The Atlantic, and so she's bringing all of her skills as a journalist to this book. Through an exploration of historical events in our present moment, she explains how our news cycles and our media consumption has shifted with the internet and how this contributes to destructive ways of thinking. She also explores how readers can detox and deprogram themselves. Chapters bring insight from wide-ranging fields and topics like film and TV and internet culture, social science, sociology, advertising. It will resonate with anyone who feels something's gone awry with how we relate to one another. Screen People acts as both a warning and a comfort. We are more than a passive audience, and we can change the script. It is not too late.
Perfect.
Especially I have a 4-year-old, and just as I'm raising her and looking at how my husband and I interact with each other and our families and our broader community, there really is a shift. And just, I think how seriously we take other people, because again, there's sort of this disposable element, and this really helps explore how that happens and what we can do to readjust and realign our thinking.
I'm glad you got back here, Suzi, because you did add a lot more than I did for Street People. Yeah, but and so we were talking about that a little bit before you pop back in about how what's screens and are shifting our perceptions of everything and eroding pretty much everything. And apparently our humanity as well. So thank you. I'm glad you made it back. Thanks, Suzi. And thank
Thank you.
again, Tom Benton from Penguin, Liz Camfiord from Random House, and Suzi from HarperCollins. Thank you very much. We will be back again next week with more reps and more books, more to talk about, and a lot more fun book rabbit holes to go down. And we hope that you will come back and join us then again. And until then, thanks again, everybody, and have a great week and happy reading. We'll see you next week.